Hello, guys and gals. Josh here. I brought with me my sister, Miss Abby.
Hi.
She is an aspiring health and life coach, just like myself. Eager to learn everything that there is to learn about life itself. Um, we're obvious amateurs at this point, but we do have some light we'd like to shed on those who don't know as much as we do. Today, we want to talk about ego. What is it? If you don't know, kind of dive into it. It definitely goes into the videos I had before about control. So let's start with, I'll ask Abby, what do you identify as the ego?
I identify the ego as your physical human self, your brain, um, the what you kind of like the wall that you put up, like what you want other people to know you as, or what you define yourself as a human. Um, it's kind of like your ego, your personality.
So you said the brain, the body.
hmm
So that kind of ties into the physical aspect, as you said, of us as people. So you look in the mirror and you identify yourself as what your name is. I'm Josh Richter. If anyone says, hey, you know Josh Richter, they're going to, if they do know me, they're going to automatically think of what this face looks like, how I act, who I am, the actions that I've portrayed to create a portfolio that would be me. That would be what I identify myself as because this is the body that I have. That, therefore, is the ego. Now, I'm going to throw something that might be a little crazy. What if I told you that one person is made up of two versions of themselves? You have the ego, and then you have the spirit. Now, the ego is just how we identified it as, and that's the physical manifestation of each and every one of us. This is our body, our mind, everything that makes up who we are. Now, the other form, the higher form, the spiritual form is your spirit, your soul. And that is what a lot of people kind of misinterpret because that spirit is what identifies you as you, not your ego, not the physical manifestation that makes you you. Because people would say, "Hey, you know Abby." Yeah, I know Abby. She's my sister. And then the first thing you think about is her face, what she does, kind of who she is as a person. Now, the who she is as a person, that kind of correlates into the spirit because there's two very distinct differences between the ego and the spirit. You have your physical manifestation, your body, and then your spirit, your higher self. So when we die, our physical manifestation, our ego, dies. So what happens to the spirit afterwards? And there's a lot of speculation of what happens to the spirit afterwards. There's been wars fought over it, but everyone can agree that there's a spirit, that we have souls, that we have spirits, and that's kind of what we want to dive into today is that spiritual form. People meditate, people do yoga, people do all kinds of things to explore that spiritual, um, that higher self to kind of understand that portion of them. And those who kind of dive into that meditation and listen to people like Alan Watts or Terence McKenna start to get through the understanding that your spiritual self is who you are. Your ego, the physical manifestation, if you can wrap your head around the concept that that is temporary, that is just a sleeve that we're in. This is a carbon based atom that we are put on a mortal self or mortal form of ourselves. Um, I don't know, you want to dive in, throw any other info in that before I go next?
Um, it's like comparing the higher self with your ego, like a lot of different analogies you can make out of it. Like people say, like the devil on your shoulder and the angel on your shoulder. The white wolf and the black wolf. The yin and yang. It's all put together. Not necessarily saying that there's like your ego is the bad and the higher self is the good, but
It's opposites, just like
they're
yin and
they're
yang.
total
They're total
opposites.
opposites.
Yeah.
When she said the black and white wolf, the kind of story behind that is there's a dark side to each person. There's a light side to each person. That dark side represents anger, anxiety, depression, loss, and the white side represents love, affection, and stuff like that. And so there's this little story um, that each person has those two wolves, and they're always fighting. Which one do you want to win? Most people obviously say the white wolf. And the answer is the one that's going to win is the one you feed. So, and this goes back to the other videos I had about control over yourself. What you put into yourself, you're going to get out. So if you put the dark side, the depression, the anxiety, if you identify yourself as someone who has those, and there's a lot of people that do, me being one of them, if you continuously feed that, you're feeding the dark wolf. If you wake up and you put yourself into a better mood and you change habits to give yourself more energy, you're feeding the white wolf. And by changing that habit and making it habitual to feed... Woo! It is storming, in case you didn't know.
That was pretty. Okay.
If you feed that white wolf's going to win. If you feed that dark wolf's going to win. They're always going to fight. And this goes along the lines of a quote that Alan Watts said, and I probably won't quote it correctly, but there are two distinct sides to us, and they're always battling, right? There's always a fight between the good and the bad in each of us. And it is necessary to have that fight, because if one side always won, the other side would give up. Think of it as two people playing chess. If you're really good at playing chess and you keep beating that other guy's not going to want to play anymore, nor are you going to want to play because he's not a challenge. Vice versa. If you keep getting beat over and over again, you're not going to want to fight that guy or face him in chess. A good rivalry is chess players that continuously beat each other, and that's kind of how that white and dark wolf is, because we all have our ups and we all have our downs. So you're going to go through times where you wake up and you think, man, I don't think I can do this. The anxiety's too much, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to have other days where you wake up and the sun's shining, the birds are chirping, and everything's great. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, and nothing's going to stay forever. So that battle between the good and the bad, good and bad, however you want to put it, is constantly going to be a rivalry fight, meaning one side's going to win sometimes, the other side's going to win the other. But if you put yourself into that mindset, you're going to have a lot more of an understanding and a lot better way to referee that fight.
One that I really like, the yin and yang, because there's always a little bit of white in the black and a little bit of black in the white, but they're constantly chasing each other. They're constantly going after each other. It's a never-ending war. One's not stronger than the other. It's constantly going into a circle.
They're intertwined and interconnected. Without the yin, there won't be a yang, and vice versa. And that kind of goes in the flow of everything else. In life, there's going to be good and there's going to be bad. Without the good, there's no bad. And that coincides with us, our physical manifestation and our spiritual manifestation. Not saying one side's good and not saying one side's bad, but they're different.
And you need both of them.
And yeah, without one, you can't have the other. I mean, the spirit will exist once the body is gone, yes, but where we are right now, if you didn't have a spirit, if you didn't have a soul, the body would be lifeless. And without the body, then the spirit would just be around. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy, the interconnecting, amazing flow that is everything, and it all goes together. The yin and yang, the good versus evil, the ego and the spirit. It all coincides together. And when you kind of put yourself into that mindset, it allows you to control your surroundings and yourself a lot more, because we talked about before how we have absolutely no control over things around us, but what we can control is how we react to things that happen around us. And the more you have that ideology, the more you're going to have the ability to kind of control your ego.
It's up to you.
It is. And so many people, and I've said this so many times and I'll say it so many times more, so many people get caught up in their ego that to the point where that's the only thing that matters, and it's subconscious, but the only thing they think about is that they got to go to work, they got to contribute, they got to pay bills, and there's no fun in that. And that's not the way that life should be. If you let your ego aside and identify your ego as simply what it is, and it's your ego, then you're going to have a lot of a better relationship with your spiritual side. and it only gets better from there. But just food for thought, and
Learn to work together.
learn to work together. Don't let them be enemies. It's not like it's the white and the black wolf when it comes to the ego and the spirit, because they are one as much as they are separate. Because you are you, and you are you because of your ego and because of your spiritual form. And so a better you is going to be someone who can identify both sides for what they are and collaborate them together. And that the result is a happier life and a happier lifestyle, and it is a lifestyle. You have anything else to add?
Instead of being upset with what you're given, instead of like, because how things can be a mindset, how you can oh man,
It can all be a mindset.
so if something happens to you, instead of saying why is this happening to me, and continuing, and like you're digging yourself kind of into a hole, you're like, well, like, why is God doing this to me? Why am I in this place? Why do bad things keep happening? Well, a lot of bad things will keep happening to you if you continue to have that negative mindset. If you have negative vibes, negative things will continue to happen. And if you just turn that around and say, okay, you know what, this is what I'm given, so how can I turn this around? How can I make this better? Just accepting like what you have, and okay, how can I get myself out of this hole? How can I be positive? You radiate positive vibes, and positive things will happen to you. So I mean, instead of being so upset with where you're at and what you're handed, just be like, okay, like, this is what I got. How can I learn from this? And how can I become stronger for this?
It's attitude.
Yeah.
It's all attitude. If you get up in the morning and say, man, I'm going to fail this test, I did not study, probably going to fail it. If you get up and say, you know what, I got this test in the hole, I'm going to pass it, I'm going to beat its ass, you're going to have a better chance of passing it because of the attitude. And it's weird to think of it that way, but it is your attitude that dictates your ego. If you say, man, I'm going to get out of this rut, I'm not going to be depressed anymore, and you continue to have that mindset, you're going to have a better shot at getting out of that rut than if you wake up going, man, I am depressed, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. It's how you perceive yourself. It's how you perceive who you are. And the result of that becomes your reality, like we talked about before. And it all comes full circle. You have so much control over yourself, and the more you know of that and how in depth that really means, then the more you're going to have the ability to kind of control your attitude of life itself and your attitude of yourself and everyone around you.
And then you're just going to be much happier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And happiness, isn't that the goal? Isn't that what everyone wants to be, is happy? What if I said happiness is subjective and it's a choice? And believe me, people have told me that when I'm in my lowest of lows, and I look at them like, don't talk to me ever again. You know, because they're like, well, it's a choice.
It's totally not what you want to hear.
And it's not it's not necessarily helpful when you're in that rut, but it's true. And it's true in a sense that, I mean, obviously you're not going to snap your fingers and all of a sudden you're going to feel better. Nothing's going to happen overnight. But to know that nothing lasts forever. If you're in a low, it's not going to stay like that. If you're in a high, it's not going to stay like that. That's the flow of things. Sometimes that dark wolf's going to eat more than that white wolf, and sometimes that white wolf's going to eat more than that dark wolf. But the whole point of it is to have the mindset, that kind of mindset, to identify everything as what we described, because it allows you to really pick up the pieces a lot easier than not knowing what the heck you're feeling and why. So that's kind of our 2 cents today for ego. If you liked the video. Let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about, and we will see you next time. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
Bye.